I'm Rondo T Farrer, Beaver, Utah, 84713.
84713.
P.O. Box.
You don't have to tell me the address.
Okay, all right.
So you born in Beaver?
I was born in Milford, which is 32 miles west of here.
Milford?
Uh-huh. We didn't have a hospital here, and my mother was 43 years old when I was born, and I was the last of 7 children.
Wow. So
and
your mom was 43-year-old.
She was 43, and my father was 44. One kind of quirk little thing about it, I was 44 the day he died, or when he died. I mean, not that day.
When were you born?
March the 6th, 1930.
March the 6th, 1930.
Mm-hmm.
So you have 7 siblings, including you.
I have 6 older brothers and sisters. They're all passed away. I'm the only one left alive.
What's being like the last child in the 7 brothers and sisters?
What seemed like it.
How were you treated? Were you king, or you are the kind of orphan?
We were never any different in our family. I mean, that's one thing I can honestly say. Our parents didn't treat the older one any different than they did the younger ones.
Yeah, but being like the last child of the 7th, you know.
We worked just as hard, and I might mention to you that I'm an outcast in the family. All my brothers and sisters are probably about 5'8", 5'9", and I'm 6'2".
What's going on? You ate everything?
I always used to kid my father about where my adoption papers were, until he got me aside one day and he said, "I'm going to paddle you if you don't behave yourself and quit yelling about it," because he said, "You're my son."
So tell me about the school you went there.
I went to Beaver Elementary School, and then to Beaver High School, and 1 year up to the University of Utah.
Wow. When did you graduate your high school?
1948.
And then you went to University of
Utah.
Wow. What did you study there?
Well, I mainly just elementary there. No, I didn't have a major at that particular time in my life. I just went to school.
At the University of Utah? What did you study?
I just took out the, what do they call them, basics, Keith? Yeah. English, math, chemistry, those subjects. But they're the basic subjects that you study as a freshman. And then when we came back, it's kind of a funny story. I was with another National Guard unit up north at the time the Korean War broke out.
When did you join the National Guard?
May the 3rd of 1948.
National Guard? Why did you join the National Guard?
I think the main reason all of us did was money. And
how much did they pay you?
We got about $4.50 a drill, if I'm correct on that. I'm not
per drill.
Per drill, and we drilled once a week. And then we went to summer camp for 15 days.
So with $5.50 at the time, what were you able to buy, for example? With the $4.50?
Oh, you could buy a lot of things.
Tell me, what is the worth of it? So, for example, $4.50 in 1948, how much is it here now?
$6 would have bought you a fairly decent pair of shoes. I think Levi Strauss's were $3.50, somewhere along in that period, during that period of time.
How much was the sandwich that you buy?
Oh,
2 cents?
No, coffee was a nickel. I didn't buy any, but I mean, I know it was, and it was a nickel. And donuts, we used to buy donuts for a nickel. So, you know, in a relationship, it was good pay.
Good pay? Oh, when you go to summer camp, you were there for 2 weeks.
We went for 15 days to summer camp.
15 days, and how much did they pay you?
Well, they paid us actually the same pay as we were getting for for a 2-hour period on Mondays and Monday nights.
So about $75 or $80.
Yeah, somewhere in that neighborhood.
That was good money then, right?
It was good money.
So I think 1948. So it wasn't that easy time because it was after the Great Depression. Who paid for your university tuition?
My father helped an awful lot, and I'd saved my money all the way as I'd worked all the way through, and that was it. One of the other reasons that I joined, I mean, is there, and my father was president of the draft board, and he encouraged me to join because that way he didn't have to draft me. I'll go on with the story on that. I was in this, what they call the 653rd up in Salt Lake when the Korean War broke out.
How did you came to know about it?
The Korean War?
Yeah.
How do I actually know about it? I walked out of church that Sunday, and my father was standing on the front steps of the church. And he said, in the morning, get in the car and go to Salt Lake and get you transferred back to Beaver, in the National Guard in Beaver, out of the Salt Lake unit. And I looked at him, I said, what do you want to do that for? I like it up there. He said, you won't when I tell you what's happened. And he said, I don't know for sure, but he said, I'm reasonably sure that you will be activated to go on active duty.
Do you remember when was that day that you were getting out of the church and all happened? It was 1950, right?
It was the 26th of June of 1950.
Wow, that's the day.
That was the day that he told me that, and I went on the 27th and transferred back down here.
So, did you know that you gonna be dragged
No,
into the
I
Korean
did
War?
not know it, but he did. He always told me he had suspected that it was going to happen because they were going to need the troops too quick to draft that many, and they had too many ready-made ones already.
So, did your father hate that you were supposed to be in the Korean War, or what was his reaction?
He didn't hate any of us. He'd sent 3 boys ahead of me. So,
To Korea?
No, not to Korea. To Germany.
Wow, that would have been your place to be in Germany, right? Rather than in Korea.
Oh, it didn't really make a lot of difference. I mean, you know.
What do you mean, Germany? There was no war, but in Korea,
yes, but these guys were in Germany during the war. They're all older than I am.
During World War II.
My next oldest brother was landed on Normandy.
Yeah. So, what happened to you after that? Where did you go? Did you receive any other special training, or?
I went to when we were inducted on active duty on the 19th of August of 1950, and we left here on the 29th of August for Fort Lewis, Washington. On the 11th of September, why they sent about 20 members of the battalion, and I was one of them, to Fort Sill, Oklahoma, to learn how to do different things.
What was your unit? What is the
service battery, the 213th.
213? So that belongs to artillery?
Artillery.
So tell me all those things after that. So you went through, and then
we went through there on the 6th or 7th of January, which we were to graduate the following week. But on the 6th or 7th of January, they sent a telegram to each one of us from Fort Lewis, and there was a whole raft of us down there, that we were to return, and we had 7 days leave time we could take, and then we were to report back to Fort Lewis on the 18th or 19th of January. I'm not just sure which one it was. I'd have to figure out, because I had 10 days and 3 days travel time. So from the 8th to the 13th, or had 13 days to it, and whatever day it was, that's where it's coming. I think it's 21st we had to be back in Washington.
Did you know anything about Korea at the time?
When the Korean War broke out, I had to go home and get out the map and look to see where in the world it was.
And
When I seen it, I kept thinking, I thought that was part of Japan, and I really did. That was my early recollection of it. When my older sister came home that day, I said, "Do you know anything about Korea?"
oh,
And she said, "No, I don't know anything, but I've heard they're going to have a war over there." And I said, "Yeah, and I think I'm going to be there." But no, I did not know anything about it. I had heard the name, but I really thought on my geographic studies that it was part of Japan. I just had always thought both those peninsulas, the islands and that peninsula belonged in the Japanese Empire until I got a little bit further along in my history.
so you knew nothing about it, but now you are going into Korea, and your life will be turned upside down.
When we got to Korea and they took us off that ship, I think that was the biggest cultural shock I had ever had in all my life. I might be a little vulgar when I say what I did, but ladies were straddling the ditch and urinating, various things that. They were feeding their babies in public, which you don't see in the United States unless it's your wife. And these things, there. And it was a cultural shock as we marched down through the street of Busan to an area that we had been.
So when you went to Washington, and then when did you leave for where?
We left, I couldn't say, but it's the latter part of January.
Of 1951?
1950.
Mm-hmm. 50?
51, yes,
51. And did you go to Japan?
We stopped in Japan, but we got off, but we just went sightseeing. We was off about 2 hours and got back on and then went to Busan.
So do you remember the date that you arrived in Busan?
Not really.
February 16, 1951.
16th?
February 16.
Okay. I was going to say I could look it up. I knew I got it in my records, but I didn't.
So it was a cultural shock to you?
It was a cultural shock.
Mm-hmm. What were you thinking? Why did you think that? Why am I here? And what the country that?
At that particular time, I had a very, downcast opinion of the whole thing. I thought, what in the world have they sent me over here for? I can't, do anything. And I had a very, sour taste in my mouth for the Korean people because they didn't respect anything. They'd steal anything that was loose. But you had to realize, this is something we didn't realize. We'd never seen hunger, like that before. We'd never seen things that where people didn't have proper shoes, didn't have proper clothing, and after I'd been there about 3 or 4 months, I realized I could see where theft was the only salvation to their end as you go on with it. But I didn't like it. I don't approve of theft there.
So what happened to you after Busan? Where did you go and what did you do?
We got on LSTs and went up and landed in Incheon, and that's going to be somewhere in April, March, latter part of March or April. Here again, if I'd have brought all the statistics with me, I could tell you. But we landed in Incheon, went up there in an LST they were Australian manned ships, and we got there and unloaded their equipment, and our first night bivouac was in a large soccer stadium, and I don't know why they put us in there, but that's where it was. And then the next morning we went north. went up and crossed the Han River. At that time, that was an old railroad bridge, and as far as I know, it was the only one that was there until they put the pontoon bridges in later. But we crossed that railroad bridge with all our equipment and went to Kapyong.
You went to Gapyeong?
Yeah.
Huh. How was the scene on the way to Gapyeong? Was it mostly destroyed?
It had been destroyed. That whole, what hadn't been burnt had been blown up by various artillery or bombs or whatever had done houses and the things that were there. And of course, it was in the spring of the year, and nothing was, going. And we, and a lot of places they were out where they were out planting barley. I do remember that. I can remember them planting barley, and I think they planted. Later on, I got to know that they must have planted some types of corn, because there was corn growing later on when we, as the summer went on, why there was corn. And I always said the sickest I ever got in my life was we went and picked a bunch of green corn one day and took it home and cooked it, and oh man, we were all sick over it. And I think it was just the bacterial content of the.
What was your specialty?
I was a mechanic until they left Kapyong, and our battery commander decided that it was an easier thing, and he left. And the day before the Kapyong incident happened, all of the guns had moved approximately 45 miles to the east, over in support of another unit. And then they brought them back, and those M7s run about 3/4 of a gallon a mile on them, and they have about 100-gallon capacity tanks, and so they were, fairly well down. About 3 o'clock that afternoon, they called and asked if we could go down to the fuel depot and pick up some fuel and take up so that we could fuel those guns. They weren't too worried about most of the wheeled vehicles could run, but the guns didn't go that far. And so I and another fellow by the name of Hale from Walla Walla, Washington, left. Went down and picked up the fuel, and we had a 2.5-ton truck, and they stacked.
It's okay. Go ahead.
They stacked. That's just you. But they double decked those 50-gallon deals, and we had a little pump that would pump about 8-10 gallon a minute. I don't know. It wasn't a fast pump, but it was a lot faster than dumping it and a lot easier. And so we went about that, and we went up and fueled C batteries, guns, and everybody there. And they were the lead valley up. If you've ever been to that Watchon Valley, well, they were the
Watchon?
lead.
Watchon.
It's no, wait a minute. What I said Watchon. It's Kapyong.
Gapyeong.
Kapyong. I said Watchon, and it's Kapyong. We later on were at Watchon. But that Watchon Valley, as you went up through there, they were the lead ones in the group. Mm-hmm. And so we went up, fueled them, and we got them done about 5 o'clock, and this was in April, May. So the days were long enough that it was still light. So we dropped back down to headquarters battery, which was the next unit down the road, and when we got down there, we were just started to fuel up some of their wheeled vehicles, and a round lit about 150 yards to the east of us, and a mortar round did, and the battalion exec came out and was very angry that we had approximately 1,600 gallons of gasoline sitting on a truck, that they may drop around in on. And he said, it'll blow the whole bunch of us to Kingdom Come. Please get out. So we left. It wasn't pleased, but we left anyway. But as on the way, as we left, why, the radio came on and said, don't, from C Battery, and said, don't, B Battery is much more short of fuel than we are. Please go fuel them. And they were up on a ridge to the west of us, and so we went up, and I think they made that trail with mules. I don't think, because it wasn't made for
cars.
Cars.
Yeah.
Well, we went up that road and got up there and got them fueled, and in the process of fueling them, the refugees started coming, and I did not know that there was that many people in the area. Besides us, and they started coming down them trails, and you could not believe. Part of them were the 6th Rock Division that they broke on us, and the infantry division, and they started to filter down through there and headed down that road. And as we went on down, we got ahead of there, and they got a march order. B Battery did, and we went down and caught A Battery before they did, and fueled their guns up, and then we headed down the road. As we went down the road a little bit, C Battery had run one of their guns off in the rice paddy, and we stopped because there was some more service battery people there working on the retriever, trying to pull that gun out of the rice paddy, which was an impossibility, but we didn't know it. And so we stayed there and fiddled around there for probably an hour and a half, and went on down to where service battery had gotten. But you could not believe the people that were funneling down that canyon. When I say hundreds, I meant thousands. They were just streaming, women with babies, young people.
They're fleeing from?
Yeah, just fleeing down that valley. And anyway, when we got down to where our battery had been, there was nobody there. And we met a gentleman, and Avadesian, you've seen him. But anyway, he met us and told us that we weren't to cross the bridge and to stay here, because he said if you cross the bridge, you don't know where you're going to be, and if you stay here, we've still got you within the battalion, so we know where you are. So we stayed. He told us to go set up a perimeter, and so we went over and set up a perimeter. And later on that night, the trip flares went off, and 4 fellows came down the canyon, or came down off the ridge, and when they come down, they were Americans. I knew the one was, because there was never a Korean as big as him. He was huge, and so when we got them all taken care of while we are there. He was an old infantry soldier, and he was with a Brooklyn National Guard unit. He was an old infantry soldier from World War II, and he immediately, when he got there, he said, "You haven't fought the Chinese yet. We have. You can't hold. This will not hold." There's a picture in that thing there of the position. It was a picture taken after the fact, but that's where we were. He took us back down to a rice paddy, and we got on the one side of the rice paddy and there. And from there on, I said, it seemed like I lived in eternity for about, until that thing was over. But about when it started breaking daylight on us that morning, we knew we weren't going to hold the Chinese coming down that hillside. We by that time.
You saw them?
Huh?
You saw them. How close?
Oh, a lot of them at 50 yards.
That's it? But you belong to the artillery battalion,
artillery,
right? What were you doing there?
What was I doing there? Couldn't go anywhere else. They told us we had to stay because we came back from that gas run, and they wouldn't let it. And the service battery commander had taken the rest of the battery and gone.
So it was too close to fire the can.
Oh, well, I'll tell you what happened after. When we did, they finally got word up to A battery, which we knew was still up the canyon. The rest of the batteries had all passed us, but A battery was still up there, and we asked them for some help. We said we can't handle this, and we had expended all of the .30 caliber ammunition we had in our machine guns and 50. All we had left was our M1s, and a lot of those M1s were getting so hot you couldn't even hold them. And we got down there when they got down there to us, the battery commander was named Ray Cox, and he came down there and on one of them M7s. Not only whether you know what an M7 is, but that's the ones that has the 105 artillery pieces on front of it, and they have what they call a beehive round, but it's nothing more than a shotgun. But the BBs are about that big. If you'll notice that picture that you asked if he's dead, that's one of those BBs hit him in the head there.
Okay, so...
But when he cut loose with that one place that looks like it had been mowed down with that's what happens on it. Those, at about, 3/4 of a mile, they take in a swath of about 300 to 400 yards, and and it just, I think they shot about 10 rounds at that hillside, and about that time all we seen was white flags starting to come up, and that's when we started picking up the prisoners.
I see. How many prisoners?
832. And the thing that surprised us is I would say that a good 50 to 60% of them could speak as good English as I and you.
You sure?
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand. That you said that they were Chinese soldiers.
They were
and
Chinese
speak in
soldiers,
English?
but they most of them had been educated in enough English that they could speak it, and they were the one soldier. When we finally got him there, come down to us, and he said, "I don't understand." He said, "I still don't understand." He said, "We shot at you and nothing happened. When you shot back," he said, "one of them fell." But the thing that they were shooting that Russian, Legrand, I think that's what it is now, but has a very sharp barrel, and I just don't think the ammunition was new enough that it had any, because we took them out after we burned thousands of them that day. And one other thing that was kind of funny, now you can put this in your deal, but I still have, and I didn't bring it down, ammunition pouches that are got the German marking on and the German belt with the there, and there was probably 20 or 30 Russian or German Mausers in that group.
At the time, the Chinese were real close, and then you asked for help from your own artillery. What were you thinking? Were you scared? Were you afraid?
Can I tell you another story right here quick? I had a fellow who was a little younger than I, and I said the first 16 rounds he shot right square in the air with an M1. He just there, and I finally told him, I said, "I don't care whether you aim it at anybody, but please shoot it at the hill."
So
we were shooting most of the time anywhere from 75 to 150 yards.
So that tells how fearful he was, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, we were all scared.
How about you?
Don't get me wrong. I was scared. I'll be honest with you. I've lived this a million times, and you're probably about the third person that ever knew the story of what happened. I would not show my grandkids those pictures. My wife probably never seen them until 10 years ago.
Which
the
picture?
Ones that I showed you in that
yeah.
book. There, and my grandkids, one of them got to see them a few months ago when I was in Cedar and took them over there to show them.
Do you have grandchildren or great-grandchildren
I've got
in the age of high school or college?
I got grandchildren that are there, and I got
Where? High school or college?
I got grandchildren that are they're all grown and married, and I got great-grandchildren in elementary school.
Okay. So not in between.
Nothing in between.
Okay.
Gosh, you can't get that, you know.
Did you go to Hwacheon? Oh, by the way, were there foreign forces there, right? Foreign UN forces like Turkey, British?
Not right there. There weren't.
Okay.
There were all American troops. Now there was the 213th, the 92nd, the Triple Nickel. They were artillery units, all of those, and the 6th Rock Division was was the infantry division, and they left us. And so when we fell back to an area. I don't know what the river's name, but I was sure it's something to do with Hwacheon.
Okay.
But there's a big delta in it, and we fell back on that, and they flew in the food and gasoline and ammunition to us for about 4 or 5 days, and then finally because they had completely surrounded us, and we finally got out.
How was life there? Where did you sleep? What did you eat? And did you write a letter back to? Were you married?
No, I was not married.
Tell me about your life there.
Oh, we had good food. Don't get me wrong. I can't complain about the food that I.
Did you have a hot meal?
Most every day we got a hot meal. When I was on the when I went up and worked as a forward observer, we were on C rations and 5 and 1s, which is five people can eat out of one ration, but it's just the same as C ration, only just bigger cans.
Mm-hmm. Where did you sleep?
We had sleeping bags, cots, and air mattresses.
Very good. So you didn't sleep in the foxhole and sleeping bag?
No, up on the
Hwacheon?
when I was forward observer, sometimes we slept. Most of the time we left there at night. The reason for that is the particular position we were in. The Chinese were probably 1,000 yards to the north and west of us, and we watched them. They watched us. So it was just easier to get out at night so that they didn't get a chance to drop a round in on you.
What was the most difficult thing for you to be in that battle in Gapyeong and Hwacheon? What was the most difficult thing?
Getting out of it. Thinking what you'd done after you walked out of it.
You hated that you were there?
No, I didn't hate that I was there. I would just hate the things I'd done. I just didn't like particularly killing people, and that entailed that. And that wasn't. I know what war is. Don't get me wrong, but that isn't what I was raised to do. And I just don't think that. And I don't know how many. And I've always said there's about 3 times that I would, if I could have a do-over, I could have jumped that day in my life and forgot about it. I say this now really honestly. I'll tell you what I've always said. The things I told you today, I've always felt that was between me and my God, and that's kind of the way I did. And I was really reluctant to even come and talk to you about it because of that.
Did you pray at the time?
Yes, every damn day, and quite a lot during that particular time.
What did you pray?
Just pray that I get out of it. I don't know, the thing I've always worried about all my life was having 5 fingers on this at the end of my arms and 5 toes on the end of my feet when I got ready to get to die. And I didn't particularly, dying over there didn't bother me particularly, but I didn't particularly want to either.
Why do you think you were in Korea? How do you put those into a perspective? Looking back those 60, 70 years ago, and you didn't know anything about Korea, and why were you in Korea? What is Korea to you?
Korea to me was a place that I went. I mean, and I can't say I enjoyed it. I enjoy it now because I think of what I accomplished. Until I went back 4 years ago, I figured I wasted a year of my life. I honestly figured that was there. But when I went back and seen what Korea was, I come home as a proud veteran of Korea.
When did you go? 2000?
Yeah.
2010?
10, was it 10 when we went? Yeah.
What did you see there? How was it different from what you saw 60 years ago?
When we left there, Seoul was just one lean-to against the other. The road through Seoul was way to the west, out on the west end of what Seoul is now. It was cut in there. When the Chinese intervened during this spring, they pushed us back onto the other side of the Yalu, and we stayed there, and there was a smallpox epidemic, and they didn't want any of us to go into Seoul, so they built this road way out west, about where the temple is now, where the Mormon temple is, somewhere in that area there. There was a road that cut across that hillside and went down. And then
was there a Mormon temple there?
Wasn't then. There is now.
Now.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, I was just telling, so Sonny could tell you about where that road was.
So after that, you saw the modern Seoul. What did you see?
I seen the modern Seoul.
What did you see?
One of the cleanest cities I've ever been in my life. Honestly, I can't say that I seen one bit of debris in that town. And the people are courteous, and, well, you just couldn't ask for a better person than the gal that was the little girl on our bus there. Even if I teased her about being a polygamist. She about flipped when I told her that.
Are you proud that you were there?
I am. I'm awful proud of it now. Up to that point, it was just another blank point in my life, and that's why I never did particularly care to show these pictures to anybody, and I particularly don't like to show them to everybody now.
Do you have more pictures in your home?
Do I have more pictures?
About the Korean War? No?
No.
Let me ask this question. How much were you paid at the time?
$124.95 a month.
95 cents? You remember that?
Yes, I do.
What did you do with that money?
Well, 120 of it came home to my mother and dad, and I got $4.95.
What did you do with the $4?
Played poker.
Hey, you believe in God.
That's the only thing. That's the only entertainment we had. That's the only entertainment we had was that.
Did you drink?
No.
Why not?
I just never have drank.
Oh, really?
Or I might have had a beer once in a while, but I'm not a drinker.
Smoke?
No. I did smoke while I was there, mainly because it was just something to do. When when you were waiting and there was a lot of hurry up and wait.
So what did your parents do with the money?
What'd they do with it? They bought me some pasture ground down here that I've still got.
No, the money that you sent to them.
That's what they did with it.
You did what?
They invested it in land.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, okay. So
I still have it today.
How big is it?
The piece of ground I bought, 4.5 acres.
4.5 acres.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have oil out of it? Gas?
No, there's
Nothing?
no oil nor no gas.
Oh, boy.
I got water on it, though.
Okay. Why do you think that the Korean War was forgotten? When you came back from Korea, what happened? Did people knew that you were there, or did they have a big party throw you for you? Why do you think it was forgotten? Do you know that the Korean War was really important?
To me, the day I came back, we got in Beaver at 4 o'clock in the morning, and they had chartered special buses for us into Las Vegas, and then they put us on the regular buses that ran out of Las Vegas to various places. And by the time I got here, I'd seen all of the people get off from St. George at about 2 o'clock, and Cedar City at about 3 o'clock, and us at about 4
in the morning.
In the morning, and then they were going on to Fillmore and let those off. And the one in Richfield, I don't know how they were doing, how Richfield guys got home, but they were all of 5 communities were all on the buses as we left down there.
Did anybody wait for you at the bus station?
The only time we run into anyone at the bus station.
No, from your family or friends?
No, my mother and dad had no idea I was even on the way home.
Why was it forgotten? Why it's been forgotten?
I don't have the answer to that. I really don't. Nobody ever done anything for us as we came home. I got home that morning, like I said, the bus driver got out, throwed out the 4 duffel bags there on the ground, and I picked mine up, swung it over my shoulder, and headed down to my mother and dad's home, which was 3 blocks away from where I'd got off. And he told us originally, he said, "I'll take you to each one of yours home," but he said, "It'd take too much time." So he just dumped us off in front of an all-night cafe up there. And I picked up my duffel bag and started down the road, and Frank Nowers picked up his duffel bag and he headed up the road, and we were going, and about 5 minutes later, while a honk coming, it was Frank's dad, and he owned a cafe down there, and he was going down to open it up, and Frank, he'd noticed him walking up the road, and so he'd picked him up, come up and picked me up and took me home, and I walked in, and I knew the house would be locked, but at my mother and dad's house, we always knew where there was one window that was left open, and so I walked over and opened the window and reached in, got the key to it, opened the door and walked in the door, and met my father standing there in his night clothes, and my mother standing in the kitchen screaming bloody murder that somebody was breaking into the house. And I turned the light on, and I thought my mother was going to die. And that was my homecoming. I called my wife at that time. I mean, she wasn't my wife, but I'd already called her from California and told her I was in home in the United States.
What do you think was the impact of your life, of the Korean War upon your life? How did it affect you?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I can sleep awful easy. I do not. My father-in-law drove truck, and I knew he used to come in on Tuesday, Tuesday mornings early, and I could always there, and so we'd always double the kids up, so he had a bed, because he'd come in from L.A. when he'd there, and he'd sleep till 2 or 3 o'clock and then go on. And this one night I did not hear him, but we always left the front door open, knowing he was coming, and I should have never done it, but I met that man nose to nose, and didn't have a thing except my nightshirt on when I met him nose to nose, and he looked at me and he says, "What in the world do you expect?" And that's the first time I realized that they're there. I also, I can honestly tell you, and my grandchildren will tell you, you don't walk in on Grandpa if he's asleep. You do not walk in my house if I'm asleep. My wife won't even come in. She'll come in, go around and go to the back door if she thinks I might be asleep because, I can run over her. If she gets too far in, and I don't know what it is. It's just that I'm there, and that I've carried it. I still to this day have a tremendous quick reflex to come. And she always said, we don't have any guns in our house because I don't want you to get a hold of one. It's kind of that way to me.
Anything you want to add to this interview?
No, I'm just tickled to death that you people appreciate what we did. And I know you do. I've got millions. The little girls that over there, when they matched the two pictures of one of these that are there of the Kapyong area, they were just flabbergasted. They were just totally taken out of position that I could have a picture that was taken in 1950 and they had a picture taken 2010 or 11, somewhere along there of the same hill.
Don't you think it's natural for us to thank you back because we were saved by you guys?
I really do. I really do. And I think I got one more comment to make. And of all of the things I've seen, and I think the little angels probably attribute more to your culture and more to the people that went and seen it when they were in Cedar City. If they could come back again, I'd want them in a bigger stadium than they had because they were tremendous there. And I realized what happened and why the man that founded them, donated the money that he put into it.
Okay. Would you sit together? Your neighbor, you're growing together. Could you sit together and
Certainly.
introduce yourself? Would you please introduce yourself and tell me how you are related to him?
We aren't related.
Yeah, we're our brothers in the gospel of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But my name is John Keith Barton. I live in Beaver. I'm 85 years old. And I was in the 213th Armored Field Artillery Battalion during the Korean conflict. And of course that was the same outfit that Rondo was in.
Did you know each other before you left for Korea?
Yes, we were classmates in school.
What school was it?
Well, all through elementary school and Beaver High School.
Beaver High School.
Mm-hmm.
So you knew each other?
There was
Very well.
17 of us boys that graduated in that class that were together.
Went to Korea?
Yep.
And did you join the National Guard with him too?
I joined the National Guard about the same time. There were quite a bunch of us joined right in high school, right when we graduated. And I had been discharged and was working at Geneva Steel Company in Provo.
No, you don't need to tell me about that. I'm going to do an interview and I'll ask you and you tell me all those things. But I want to talk about two of you together. Did you go through same basic military training together?
Yes.
We were in the same National Guard unit.
And did you left for Korea in the same ship?
Yes, we did.
Oh,
we
my
were together
goodness.
all the time.
What was in the ship? What was it like in the ship? You said that 20 days, 29 days?
No, on the way over it was 17 days.
17 days. And did
Yeah.
you talk to each other?
What?
Did you talk to each other in the ship?
Well, there wasn't anything to do in the ship, and that you have to remember that those troop ships were just jammed in there like sardines.
Were you in the Gapyeong too with him?
Yes.
You?
In the what?
Gapyeong.
Kapyong.
Gapyeong.
Yes.
So you were in the same unit and same battalion and
I was
everything.
in the service battery, same as Rondo was.
What was being in the war, two of you together? You are the classmate. You went through all the same basic military training. You were in the same ship, and you are in a country that you never knew before. And Well, what is it? Tell me about two of you together.
We were good friends. We have been good friends ever since we were small children. We started to school like 6 or 8 years old. We have known each other. And we have always associated with each other.
And being in the war.
Our families knew each other. And as far as being in the war is concerned, when we got into the 213th Armored Field Artillery Battalion, we're just another member of a unit that was controlled from somewhere else, and we just responded the way we were supposed to.
But tell me about more specific context where you were in Korea, Gapyeong, and fighting against Chinese. Were you?
No, we were within the battery itself, the service battery. He was in one section and I was in a different one. The section that I was in was the supply section, and we were responsible for the food and the clothing.
Did you talk to each other often in the Gapyeong?
No, we were not too much together after we were in action. We had our separate duties to perform, and we did them.
Rondo, do you often talk to him about your service in Korea? Now?
I think the first time he and I ever talked about the service in Korea was last Saturday or Sunday night. We were at a funeral, and I mentioned that you were coming, and we chatted very briefly about it, and I found out that his position was similar to mine, that we both were back there when they left us.
I don't understand. You were the classmate. You were in the same war at the same time, at the same unit, and you came back together and you never talk about your service?
Come back
I know.
no.
But you are here now in your hometown and you never talk about your service together? I don't understand these two gentlemen.
No. We very seldom, I think Rondo's probably like I am, I never talk about service.
Why not?
It just doesn't seem to be the thing to do. I don't care to talk about it.
Why you don't care to talk about it? Because you hate it, or you didn't like it, or what?
No, I just think it's a past part of my life.
You don't want to remember?
I have no reason to talk about it.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I didn't know until we got here just a few minutes ago that this was an interview.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my first inkling of what was going on when we came down these stairs.
Got it. Because in Korea, I was in the Air Force, and whenever we get together with the people that I served together in the Air Force, we're always talking about what happened there, and we laugh about it, but it was war. Yours were war. Now mine was peaceful service, so I think I could do that, but I understand now. Anything you want to add, Rondo?
No, I think that we've pretty well covered everything. That when you talk about why we don't talk about it, my wife tells me no war stories, and so I kind of slip away from it there, and she's always told me, please don't tell the grandkids what you did. And the first inkling that my one grandson had was last fall when we were over to Cedar City, and my wife was gone somewhere, and so they don't like me to go places alone. I don't know why. You know, when you're 84, well, you can go about where you want to, but at least I think it can, but they don't think so. So he accompanied me, and when he come back, he looked at me and he says, Grandpa, someday I want to sit down and talk to you. And I said, I might, but I said, it's going to be when I get ready. I said, I'm not ready. And like I said, you're probably the third person that has heard what I told you today.
What would you do if I arrange a meeting with the Chinese soldier that fought against you at the Gapyeong 60 years ago? What would you do? You're going to punch him in the face? You're going to shake hands? What would you do?
I wouldn't do anything. I feel that he was as obligated to do what he was doing as I'm obligated to do what I was doing. I just happened to be the one that came out on top. If he come out alive, why, well-being. You seen what the carnage that we left there that day. Whether it was me or one of the others, I don't know, and I don't care really. But I know that somewhere along the line, I'm going to have to face my God over what happened.
Thank you very much for your interview.